Hi there, I'm Kate McClellan, and I've been a professional wedding planner for over 20 years now. I started Planning Collective when I noticed that though most couples are super excited about getting engaged, they quickly feel overwhelmed and intimidated by the actual process of planning their weddings. If left unchecked, this can lead to massive burnout and the urge to scrap all your plans and just elope. While this is totally normal, you don't have to sacrifice your sanity for your dream wedding. In the Wedding Planning Collective podcast, I'm going to share the processes, tips, and tools that all engaged couples like you need to feel confident, supported, and excited about your wedding plans again. Let's get started. Hey there, before we get to the episode, I have a quick question for you. Have you been unsuccessfully trying to shake that feeling that you're forgetting something when it comes to your wedding? You've got the Knot app and you've downloaded countless other planning checklists, but you just can't get rid of that sneaking suspicion that there's something you don't know yet. It's a very common feeling when it comes to wedding planning. So much so that I decided to put together a free resource to help get rid of what I call FOWO, the fear of wedding oversight. Yes, it does include that 12-month task checklist, but that's just the start. In addition to the ultimate wedding planning checklist, my new Don't Forget list also includes a wedding vendor checklist, your shopping list, a packing list for the wedding weekend, and a complete wedding item setup list to make sure that you are truly not forgetting anything when it comes to your wedding. And you heard me right, this list is free for you to grab right now. Just head over to planningcollective.com/forgetting and it's all yours. That's planningcollective.com/FORGETTING, and let's get rid of that FOWO together. All right, let's get on to the episode. Hey guys, Kate here. Welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Planning Collective podcast. Now, I know I promised you last week that today's episode we'd be talking about post-it planning boards, and I swear that episode is coming to you. The thing is, for obvious reasons, that episode is much more visual with a lot more videos and pictures so you can see how I'm putting this together. And the thing is, I am a wedding planner, not a videographer. So it is taking me a lot longer to edit that together for you than I anticipated. So I promise that it is coming your way, but I didn't want to delay getting you an episode this week. And I am pretty sure that you will find all of the information in today's episode helpful. So let me set the scene. You're planning your wedding, you've made some decisions, and you're starting to feel really confident about the vision coming together. And then boom, all of the opinions start flooding in. Your mom, your fiance's aunt, your coworker that planned her wedding 10 years ago, everyone just wants to help, right? And suddenly you are second guessing everything. The Pinterest boards that you've been working on and putting together are starting to look more like an escape plan than reality. So if you have ever muttered the phrase, "Ugh, we should just elope," whether it's in your head or out loud, this episode is definitely for you. Let's start with this. You're not overreacting. Wedding planning brings out everyone's opinions, and everyone feels like they're just helping by sharing these opinions with you. The thing is, people generally mean well. They're excited for you and they want to be helpful. They want to share in the excitement. But that excitement can really start to feel overwhelming when everyone's sharing their opinions. And it can feel like your initial plans are getting further and further away from you when everyone's trying to rewrite your wedding plans for you. Or worse yet, they're holding you hostage with their credit card. The most common offenders that we see are the Pinterest planner, who is likely a friend who has ideas for days but doesn't actually take your plans into consideration. The tradition keeper, which is typically an older family member that absolutely insists that you have a receiving line or you toss the bouquet, even though you do not want to do those things. And the hardest to work with is the "I paid, so I get a say" contributor who thinks their money equals full control over the plans. It can feel like you're walking a tightrope between people pleasing and making sure that you have the wedding that you want. So let's talk about what it actually does to you when you are constantly bombarded with unsolicited advice. You start doubting yourself and the decisions that you're making. You lose sight of what you originally wanted out of your wedding, and you feel guilt, resentment, or confusion, and sometimes even anger. And then comes in the fantasy, let's just run away and elope, which honestly isn't a bad idea if it was part of your original dream, but you don't want to sacrifice your original dream wedding just to avoid this frustration. So before you go into full escape mode, let's talk about the 5 steps that you can do before you go into a full breakdown. Step 1 is definitely the most important, and that is setting realistic boundaries from the beginning. You don't have to agree with everyone, and you don't need to argue either. Here are a few low drama, high impact phrases that you can use to help create a little space while staying kind. Thank you so much for the suggestion. We'll definitely keep that in mind. The translation being, we heard you, but we are not promising you anything. Next, we are really excited about the decisions that we've been making together. It just really feels right for us. This recenters the focus on you and your partner as a team, but not totally dismissing their suggestions. And one of my favorite suggestions, when in doubt, blame the planner. Something like, we're working with a planner who's helping us stay organized, so we've got things pretty locked in. I often say to my couples, I'm not going to be at the Thanksgiving table with you. So if I need to be the bad guy in certain situations, throw me right under that bus. Now, within reason, of course, right? But if you have someone that is trying to add to your guest list, and you really could technically include them because of the space of the venue, the planner says that with the capacity of our dance floor and our band and whatever you need to throw in there, we're really at a max with where we're at. Something like that can be simple and easy and take the pressure off of you. While techniques like this will work for the majority of opinions that people will be sharing with you, the last category that we were talking about can be much harder to navigate. So let's talk about the person who is paying for or contributing to the wedding and therefore believes that their opinions should carry the most weight. This is where things can get really tricky because while their financial contribution is incredibly generous and often essential for the wedding that you're looking to plan, it shouldn't mean that they get to take over the entire experience. Here's what I want you to remember. Gratitude and boundaries can coexist. You can appreciate their contribution and still hold space for your own vision. Here are a few ways to approach this in a low drama way. Step 1, clarify the terms early on in the planning. Sometimes the tension comes from mismatched expectations. If someone is contributing financially, have a calm and clear conversation about what that does and does not entitle them to. Ideally, you should do this in the very early stages of planning, and you might say something like, we are so thankful for your help with the wedding. It truly means a lot to us. We want to be really clear, though, on what decisions you'd like to be a part of so we can make sure that everyone is on the same page. This helps avoid any surprise decision maker moments down the road, especially when it comes to the guest list, because that's where a lot of these issues come into play. And if it is going to be a big issue on who is controlling the decisions, you are figuring this out in the early stages before it is too late to really set those boundaries and make it clear. Step 2, give them options. So if someone is footing the bill for, say, specific parts of the wedding, like maybe the dress or the flowers or catering, you can include them in some parts of the process, but still hang on to those boundaries. For example, we'd love for you to be involved in choosing the flowers. We're meeting with the florist next week and we're leaning towards a soft color palette, but if there's a style or bloom that you really love, let's make sure to talk about how we can incorporate that. You're showing them respect and asking for them to participate, but you're not giving them full control over the design or decisions. Step number 3 comes into play when they want a say in everything. Sometimes we'll see that even if someone is only contributing a small amount to the overall wedding budget, they feel like they are a major shareholder in the decision-making process. So if you're worried about that happening, or you're already seeing that that's starting to happen, you can say something like, we are so grateful for your support, and we really want to make sure that this day really reflects our relationship and what matters the most to us. We definitely want to keep you in the loop, but some of these choices are ones that we've already made as a couple and we're feeling really good about. This firmly draws the line, but reminds them that this is your wedding, not a family group project. And step number 4, hold the line kindly. Even after you have clarified expectations and set the boundaries, you'll likely get pushback in a couple of areas. That is totally normal. Again, the guest list is often where we see a lot of issues come into play. Maybe you don't want kids at the wedding. The family is insisting that kids be there. That's totally normal. People don't love being told no, even if you're doing so nicely. So here's the mantra I want you to keep saying in your head. Kind, clear, consistent. Say it once, say it again, and then move forward. And if you need a backup plan, blame the budget and blame the planner, just like we talked about before. You can say something like, we'll look into it, but I don't think it's going to fit within our budget. Period. Conversation is over. For the most part, because we all know that there are some people that just simply will not let it go. And that's where step 5 comes in, because some people just simply won't accept that they don't get final say when they are contributing financially. Step number 5 is declining financial contributions. This one can be a hard pill to swallow, but if you have family that you know will simply not let go because they are contributing financially and your visions and opinions are not in alignment, it may be best, as hard as it is, to decline their help with paying for the wedding. Now, for most couples, this is going to mean a significant change to what you're able to afford for the wedding, but if it saves your long-term relationship with family, it's probably worth it. If you find yourself in this situation, think long and hard about whether you want to deal with months or even years of stressful conversations about the wedding, only to end up with a wedding that doesn't look like what you originally wanted. And this is where we need to talk about when eloping actually might make sense. Because let's be real, sometimes eloping is the right choice. If you've already stretched yourself thin, your relationship is feeling the pressure, and the thought of a full-blown wedding gives you anxiety sweats, whether it's for the reasons we've been talking about, or maybe that's just not your thing, it might be time to seriously consider eloping. This doesn't mean that you are fully excluding people forever. There are many ways that you can include family and friends during the planning process and even after the private ceremony. In the past, eloping typically meant that it was just a small ceremony with a couple and an officiant, usually spur of the moment. Now we're seeing that elopements are more planned out and often like a small destination wedding. So you can include a guest list of those that are closest to you. You can also have a post-elopement celebration or dinner that will feel much more casual and likely less expensive than a traditional wedding would be. You can share a video or photos from the day and an announcement after the elopement on social media, via text or email to those you would have invited if you had a traditional wedding, or even sending out a sweet "we did it" card, kind of like a save the date, but the opposite, where you can share a photo of the day to those that you would have invited. Remember though, the goal is not to avoid everyone necessarily. Sometimes it might be, but it's to protect your peace and focus on what matters the most to you as a couple. Because it all comes back to your why. It's the most important thing you can do in wedding planning. Come back to your why. Come back to those priorities. Why are you getting married? What do you want to remember about this time or the day? What actually matters to the two of you? And if you're feeling stuck here, head over to episode 113, where we talk about your wedding priorities. We really dig in deep in that episode. And episode 122 is all about talking to your family about wedding finances. So those are 2 great resources that you can have if you are feeling overwhelmed. In the end, if you feel like you are drowning in opinions and you are this close to booking that flight to Vegas, take a deep breath, set your boundaries, and reconnect with your vision. Most importantly, know that you're not alone in this. So many couples struggle with one or all of these different levels of people sharing opinions. I'm going to post with this episode over on Instagram, Planning Collectively. Share your stories or your struggles in that post, and we'll all help support everyone. And before we wrap up, make sure that you are getting your poster boards and markers ready for next week's episode. I promise. I'll link my favorites below and the ones that I used in that episode so you can be ready for that poster board party. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And if you found this episode helpful, please take a second to rate and review. It really helps others find the podcast and helps me bring the free wedding advice to you every week. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next episode.